Committee for today, Thursday, May 18th at 6 p.m.
You need a shorter title.
It does, but you have to say the whole thing.
I know.
So the second on the list is approval of minutes. Has the committee reviewed and can I get someone to approve or any Go ahead.
There's under the pedestrian bikeways one, there's like, at the end of it where it says, where am I? I'm on the wrong page. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. It says that we do more research and then vote a specific intersection to the council. I don't know if that was actually said. I know that that's not what I was suggesting. So I don't know if that needs to stay there because someone else said it. Because I wasn't suggesting that there's a particular intersection that we go find volunteers for.
No, I think it was a suggestion.
My husband who suggested that.
Okay, so that's fine.
All right, so that's
Thank
the
you.
amendment that we'd like to add to that. But other than that, is there any other adjustments to the minutes? Can I ask for a motion?
I move the minutes of Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrian Committee, minutes of
April.
April 20th, be affirmed as written.
Thank you.
I second.
All right, as with the exception of adding husband's name, it's been approved.
No, it doesn't have to have that. It's just,
It doesn't?
It's just general, yeah.
Okay, general, thank you. Next is appearance of, do you guys agree?
Yes, all in favor, yes.
Thank you. I just assume, okay. Next is appearance of interested citizens, and we have Carol Homan, sorry.
It's gonna talk really loud.
I was here earlier today and she stood back here. So, yeah, here we go. How's that? Is that better? Let me get it a little closer. All right.
I think that's better. I hope you can hear me.
Go ahead and tap it, see if it works.
Oh dear.
Okay, hold on. Let me do this.
Have an update for this?
Okay, now try it.
Oh, I think it is, yeah. Thank you. Carolyn Holman, here kind of representing West Keizer Neighborhood Association. The WKNA board discussed the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program revision at our May meeting, and we concurred that one of the provisions in the revision, gathering signatures from neighbors in support of traffic management suggestions, was unacceptable. We've canvassed neighbors via door hangers to alert them to meetings where traffic issues will be discussed, and we're happy to do that again. But many homes, when we do our canvassing, perhaps 30 to 40% have no soliciting signs, which we feel means that being approached for a signature would be unacceptable. Whereas just leaving a door hanger, which is what we've done with information, is seen as merely informational. As to the agenda item about including apartment complexes in the program, we haven't discussed this as a board, but some of the members have shared discomfort with entering apartment complexes due to their kind of enclosed nature, and then in many cases, you've got to go up flights of stairs. So I don't know, we're not in favor of that, I guess. In many or most cases, a mailing would be easier than going door to door to distribute, than just distributing door hangers. In the case of the city proposing a certain traffic change or solution to an issue that's been raised, having the city send a mailing might be more effective than contact by the neighborhood association. The city has had a neighborhood traffic management program for 20 years, and it hasn't been used. Mayor Clark said at a recent council meeting she didn't even know it existed, which is depressing. If it's to be used, we want it to be usable. Before the revision is approved, we would love to have the chance to provide more input and believe that more discussion with all the neighborhood associations is warranted. As always, we want to work with you towards something that works for all of us and provides a workable, effective way to bring traffic-related issues to the forefront so that acceptable solutions can be developed. We really appreciate the time and effort. I know it's been a lot of work to get a revision to this point and hope that we can continue working together to produce a document that the associations and individuals, citizens see as user-friendly and effective. And we kind of see certainly the original one, and even the revision still kind of sets a bar that is really a barrier, we think, to involvement. So whatever we can do,
I'm going
we
to
wanna
ask
do it.
Tammy if she has some comment to
I
that.
do. I support everything you said there, and you're not alone. So first of all, we're not done. We're nowhere near done.
right, fine.
I know we kind of gave some positivity last month that we were wrapping it up, but from the feedback I'm receiving, we're nowhere near done. So everything you said, I combined everybody's notes, including what you just brought up, and I presented it to Public Works, and we're having some communications about how to address those concerns, and we have some in mind. I don't know how far we'll get today with the big agenda, whether we discuss this today or if it's going to be next time. But as far as the petition goes, no one feels safe going door to door, so we're addressing that for sure. The apartments, and I'll take ownership of this. I think I miscommunicated the question because even the answer I got from Public Works the answer you gave was not to the question I gave. So the question at hand is if we were requiring signatures, and since that may not be even a thing anymore, this may not be a relevant question, but if we require signatures, do the apartments calculate in by the quantity needed? Not how does an apartment
Got it.
go about changing something. So two different ideas there, and I think it's my fault for saying it wrong. So the question at hand is if there's an apartment complex and we need 50%, do we need to go to every door in the apartment to get 50%? Or are we just talking 50% of the buildings?
I think the people that bring it up to the property owner or the property management get the ball rolling, bring it to a neighborhood association, and then at that point, we decide where we're going with it, and then a solution is come up with, and then we notify the people in the affected area via the mailer, which the city would pay for the postage. There goes no more door to door. So these are kind of some things that we've been thinking of. But does that kind of answer?
That answers a yes.
That's how I'm putting that tie. So I kind of understood what you were asking. It might have been a two-part question, but we kind of folded it together.
Yes.
I
And
want
then there's a lot more.
to interject. Carol, or any of the neighborhood associations, do you have apartment citizens, people that live in the,
I'm pretty sure we do, yeah.
you do?
I mean, there's
We
some,
have
there's some at the
quite a
end of
few.
Sunset,
Okay.
so that's definitely in West Keizer
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we have them.
Yeah.
And I can speak for Ken in Southeast.
Oh, yeah, we
Yes, they
think
do.
Southeast has, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure we do.
And
I
having
guess a
been
better
on
way
the
to-
land use committee, I think more and more, there are going to be
Yes.
more and more apartments all the time. So I think this is an important issue.
So I guess the way that I should have worded it is, does the apartment building qualify for one signature? Or is it beyond that?
I didn't think so, but I don't know.
And since we're not even, let's not even go down the road of this
Yeah.
answer, because we may
I
change
need-
the process, but that was what the question was intended to be, so my apologies for scaring everybody with that question.
Okay. Mike, did you have something you wanted to bring?
Well, I just wanted that clarification. So, Mike, did you say the tenants go to the owner, landlord? And if that's the case, I guess, what if the landlord says, well, I don't see a problem, so I'm not gonna do anything?
They just need to keep going until they get traction, like people that come here and bring different issues up. So, and this is just the beginning of the discussion on this, but that was a open discussion Bill and I had, and we're just throwing different ideas out. And it was like, you know what? I mean, if one person says something, you're right. If the property management or owner doesn't do anything, but you got 20 people in the apartment complex and they're constantly, then at some point, it should move the ball.
And the neighborhood associations are right there too.
Okay.
One person, I would think, could come to us and, you know, I mean, just any citizen, so.
Well, thank you, Carol. And since we do have your comments on there, we'll start absorbing that data and working it
Appreciate it.
into.
We always appreciate having input, so thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Hussman, please go.
No, it's okay, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. These are really serious issues because I've been performing some occasional political activity lately. You all may have heard. But what Carolyn speaks to is absolutely the fact that, you know, anywhere from a quarter to half of doors that people knock on have no soliciting signs. I'm sure some of the people at this dais do. Well within everybody's right, and I'm not trying to get anybody arrested for anything they shouldn't be doing. It does raise the broader issue of communicating out to people, though, because door-to-door is very effective, and we like doing door-to-door stuff in Keizer because it's easy and we generally know people. Yeah. We know the neighborhoods and we can get around quickly. But it speaks to a broader issue I think we're having throughout the city, which is just how the hell do we get information out to people? There's been a bit of a push within the council to provide some resources to improve their website. I know Councilor Cross has been vocal on that, and I think anybody else who's used the city website, unfortunately, has also been vocal about its efficacy. At the same time, I see this as dovetailing through a few different things that we've been talking about extensively, neighborhood associations being one of them, just how it is that the city best partners with the neighborhood association to make things go, and then where it is that we're meeting people where they're at with respect to renters. Rick, I absolutely agree with you. We're going to have more apartments in town. Those are coming online very shortly. We all can see them. So we're going to have more renters, and we need the renting population to be involved in the political process, period. That should be a council goal. I will pledge to take back that question, Tammy, of unit participation versus building participation, because that's a good one. I don't necessarily know if we have settled law around that. Without Mr. Johnson here, I couldn't necessarily comment one way or another. So thank you for asking the hard questions. Also, Rick and Mike, did you guys get what you wanted to say out? Because I know you had your hands raised at one point. So
I didn't see. Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I did, thanks. I did have one more comment. You know, if we were talking about, I don't know, property taxes or water service or something, then you're talking about the landowner, the owner. Here we're talking about traffic safety issues. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, a driver is a driver. And so the individual people in the apartments ought to have the same weight as an individual single-family homeowner.
So I just want to add to this is how can we move to more of an electronic way of gathering this data, meaning email addresses, sending out mass surveys this way, because I don't want to also do mass mailers that might not necessarily get open and spend money of the city's money that might not get as much attention. If I can post something on our website, direct people to the link, and also respond in that manner, I'd like parameters around it, like you'd have to list out your address so that we can say that you're in that responding area. But I think this might be the new day and age that we might be into as how we collect the data in order to not subsidize, but get what we need in order to move forward on projects.
So would it be unrealistic as we progress down this new conversation to have a sign put at the locations where we intend to do an improvement with a QR code that we can scan that takes us to the city website with information? As long as the sign doesn't walk away, would this be something considered rather than, I know Bill and you suggested mailers that the city could potentially pay the postage for to help. I know, no, and that's why we're here. Mm-hmm. Would the money instead be spent on these maybe reusable signs somehow?
Well, I like where you're going with this, because what I'm thinking here is that QR code goes to our website where it's a fillable form that gives addresses and has, the red stars of the data we need in order to gather that information. I'm liking where this is progressing. So let's continue this conversation with this information. Did you have something, Hirsch?
I just want to add that senior citizens and some of our other constituents don't have that capability.
True.
So I just want to bring that up so that we continue to use all methods.
Well, and if you go that way, I'm going to bring up translation too then.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
So I don't see how we can't keep all this in consideration and find a way to communicate with everyone.
Everyone.
So if it is a reusable sign, we can have various, really all the sign is doing is directing them to something. And so whatever is at that other end of the something, we can change accordingly as long as the sign can tell someone how to get there.
Okay, well, let's
That's
keep
my
talking about that, but I like where we're going with all this. Next citizen appearance of interest is Carol Dorfler. Thank you.
I love this. My name is Carol Dorfler. I'm resident of Keizer. I love this conversation you just had. I agree with everything that Carolyn said. I'm past president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. I've done door-to-door. I don't mind doing door-to-door, except it's becoming more and more, I'm becoming more and more aware of the world we live in, and it's really kind of scary. And I hate to say that about my neighborhood, but, you know.
You don't
And
know
I've
your
done
next
canvassing
neighbor.
for outside of the neighborhood association, and the no soliciting signs are truly, there's just lots and lots of them. When I had literature to drop, I would just leave it, you know, like under the doormat or something. So to respect that no soliciting sign. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about Verda Lane. I'm here to talk about Verda Lane as a grandmother, a mother, a resident, and how scary Verda Lane is. Considering there is an elementary school 1 block off of Verda between Shamawa and Dearborn, and those dear little children having to walk to school down the road that is just, it's just horrendous. And now we have apartments going in, probably more kids at that between those two intersections. My thought is to drop that speed limit. And Oregon, the state of Oregon now allows for the cities to determine their own speed limits. And I think it would be very, very wise of Keizer to drop the speed limit on that street.
Yeah.
It's 35 miles an hour, and you know, if it's 35, they're doing 40, if not better. And I really think that as a committee, you need to really discuss this, take it under consideration, and send a recommendation to the council.
That has already been done.
You
Actually,
did?
yeah, I just went there to talk to them, and we had 2 areas that we wanted them to review. The mayor asked city manager to review the 2 areas, and it's really about this circle. It's getting very dangerous. We were told at one point to wait until the condos were built. We do see, as you do see, there is a walkway that is being created there, but that Keizer Road coming out of there, the backup that's happening, and I can see it's gonna come. It hasn't happened yet that I know of, and I can't ask Sergeant Lede today, but the backup is getting close to the circle. So it's gonna cause an issue but we can't block off Keizer Road because then with the school issue. So I think there needs to be a little bit more detail to go into this and conversation about it. But I agree with that.
I think it
this
needs
is an area we need to review. Go ahead, Hirsch.
I just want to ask Mike, how far along is the Verda Lane project?
Couple of years.
2 years, okay. But the plan has been completed. There is money.
It's still, the plan's still being worked on. ODOT's still in design with the vegetated swales and the planter strips and everything, and that goes, with that, so
'Cause
it's a couple years out.
I talked with Mike Jaffe, and he said, gave me an impression that it was sooner.
So that's all fine and good, vegetation and the sidewalks, you still could help up the situation if that speed limit were dropped. It really needs to be dropped. It needs to be dropped to 25 miles an hour. I mean, you're a block from a school, you're approaching a roundabout, which you should slow down for it anyway, but they don't. I saw one go right over the edge of it one day. And it's a disaster waiting to happen. And I don't think you can wait 2 years. I really, really do not think you should
I
wait
agree.
2 years.
I agree with that. As far as bringing the miles down.
Yep.
It is just been broached for the first time in April. I want to get as much help as I can, and because we've been asked from 35 to 25 on, I'm sorry, the one coming from Eulalie. So that street, that little, but it already says 25 when you go start doing the curves. So,
But between the roundabout and Dearborn is
Yeah.
35 miles an hour.
yeah.
That's the stretch.
Okay.
That is the stretch
Go
right
ahead,
there.
Hirsch, and then
I
Tammy.
really look at this new legislation or whatever. Cities are allowed to propose, but it still goes back to ODOT for the final approval.
That's right.
So we can't just arbitrarily do it. It has to go back to ODOT.
I just read it and I did not read that.
I can speak to that. I read before coming here, City of Salem has their traffic plan, and in it, they discuss that. So the ORS is very specific, saying, based on the type of road is the type, or the speed that's
Okay.
allowed.
Yeah.
And then there's other criteria that's, if an entity changes that, there's other criteria that still need approval for. So I think what you're referring to is a recent amendment that was done. But what I read was, the state has given incorporated cities, and then 2 counties also, the authority to change up to 5 miles an hour under, but I think there's still rules that surround that. I think that's what you're referring to, and I read it really quickly before coming here, so I'm not too versed in it. But it's a really big deal to change speed limits in the state.
Well, at this point, I do agree, and I think we'll just continue to keep raising this, and then maybe send an email to city manager, and I'll include you too, Councilor Husband. Do you have support in getting this lowered by 10 miles per hour around like all 4 corners of the circle?
Please send it to me. I definitely support it. I'll be candid. I've taken the temperature of the council on a couple of speed issues. I don't necessarily know how they all feel. So I think that the citizens kind of need to bring the pain on this one, just in case they're
I'll be at the next
inflicted
council
upon
meeting.
us, because
Thank
we certainly can. Carol, I'll check and make absolutely sure on the concrete steps related to speed. I'll get back to you on that and send an email. My question is it 5 miles per hour or 10 miles per hour?
What I read
And
was
then
5 under the
Current.
current.
5 under
5
current?
under the
Okay.
current,
Okay.
which brings it down to 30, which is still somewhat outrageous for that stretch of road.
So how does this committee need to agree on anything to ask you to bring to council, or are you just going to take this to council? We would like 10, but 5, if that's what we can do in the parameters after your review.
Yeah, I'll do my best to bring it to council, but frankly, I think the other thing that really bolsters is support from the neighbors. And the neighbors, as many neighbors as can show up in this chamber, in those seats,
Yes.
that's what's going to drive the action at the end of the day. We need to hear from
There
people
was
on
a
this.
large discussion on next door about
Oh,
this very,
really? Okay, I didn't
this
see
very
that one.
thing. And it went on for,
I
know.
am actually on that app, but I
it
didn't
went
actually see
on
this
and
one.
on and on. I can't remember whether it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And I encouraged people to please come to this meeting
Mm-hmm.
and to come to council to bring that forward.
Did you have a
Because
question?
they are very upset over
Yeah.
that whole situation.
Well, now
there.
at this point, I have comments on 50% of the circle, of the roundabout, meaning the one coming in this way and then the one coming out that way.
The other way.
Does that sound weird?
Yeah.
From
Okay.
which street to which street?
I know, that's my problem, is I don't know the names of the streets. I just,
Chamawa goes east.
Maua?
okay. Chamawa and Verda, there are only
Verda.
two, but
Yep.
it
No.
literally circles so many
Well,
times. I
yes,
think it's 5
yes.
different names, okay?
Yeah.
So that's me. So Chamawa, I've had someone come last month and talk, and we actually took that to council, and they talked with that homeowner individually and actually helped think of some great ideas. And there was actually a thank you that we received an email for moving so quickly on that. So I think this only adds to it. Please, I encourage a discussion at council as well. I think I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm glad to see you back in it, Carol, because I know
Back in it.
hey, you're definitely someone that'll get some
Well, it's
movement
very
happening.
concerning. It's very, very concerning. And I've driven down there deliberately. I avoided it. I thought one more car down there doesn't need to go. But then as I thought about this, I thought, I'm going to go drive down there. So when I've been out and done errands and things, I've done it, and I'm just like, oh, this is just wrong.
Yeah,
It
we
just
need to-
really needs to be changed.
I think
No, I'm not the longest. Anyway, in the last 20 years I've been on the committee, this has come up, and we dealt with this, we didn't deal with it, but it came up 16 years ago, same issue. And looking at Verda by itself, maybe a little nearsighted. We waited for the apartment or the development on the west side. The east side of the road is worse in terms of the ditch along there. And the fact that there are no sidewalks off of Verda towards the elementary school. And Keizer Road's narrow, and there's no sidewalks in pieces of that, and the rest of it's covered in loose gravel. And one time at the Safe Routes to School, we looked at a bike path from Verda to the school. I forget which street, it wasn't Dearborn, it was like right out the school, whatever street that was. So this has been around and come up and been brought to the attention of the Public Works and City Council repeatedly. So it's not going to be anything new.
Just bringing it up again. All right, Mike.
Yeah, bring it up again.
Michael, I know that you wanted to have a comment.
Yeah, so comment and question. So the comment is, so Chamawa through there is 30 on both sides, if I'm correct. Verda is 35 to 25. So just from a consistency standpoint, I would think we would want to have all
of them
4
through
streets
25.
consistently, and 25 would be great. My question was, when the apartments were approved, and I'm not sure who can answer this, maybe you might, was there ever a discussion of having that developer put in some crossing midway through between Chamawa and Dearborn, just mixing the words up together, where the kids or anybody would have a safer crossing? And understanding that Verda is going to get a bigger redesign, so it would have to get sidewalks. Well, sidewalks, but it would have to get probably adjusted or completely overhauled eventually, but something that could have been in the near term. Was that ever discussed?
It might have been, but I wasn't involved in any of the development and that part of the project, so
Yeah. I'm
I
sure
can't
the
answer that.
plan-
It possibly was, so, and I know it's an issue, and then putting something in, on the east side, there's no sidewalks throughout that neighborhood, so now we're putting people across the street to nowhere but the street,
Well,
so
I'm thinking-
there's a lot of,
Right. but
Mike,
we'll
isn't
do
there
that.
excuse me a second, there's already one crosswalk. There's a crosswalk
Dearborn.
right south of the circle.
at
At
Dearborn.
Keizer, well, just between the circle and Keizer Road.
Yeah.
Isn't there a crosswalk? Am I wrong?
No, it's
And the
the
original
roundabout.
plan, we had a crosswalk there. I think it's there.
I don't think there's a crosswalk there.
Okay.
In the
then-
roundabout.
Yeah, no,
There
not
No,
at
at
the
Keizer-
roundabout.
at
It's
Keizer
south of the
Road.
roundabout,
At
about
Keizer Road.
30 feet, 40 feet.
Give or take.
Isn't there no crosswalk there? So if I'm coming up Chamawa, I'm really on my own how to get across Verda. No because there's no crosswalk at the circle. No, you're not supposed to cross Verda at the traffic circle. I remember the original plan had that
does.
outlined.
There is a marked crosswalk there. It's not right next to the circle.
It's supposed to be south of it,
It's
north,
just,
east.
but it's like 5 or 10, at the most
10
10
feet?
feet back.
10 feet?
2
Yeah.
feet.
And it's at every road that
Yeah.
comes into there, it's
So
all
there is a
marked.
crosswalk there.
It
Yes.
is. But that's kind of where,
But that's not close to the school.
No.
Well, it's about as close as you can get. I mean, it's 3 blocks to the school from Verda.
You can have little.
Did you get your
fourth
question answered?
graders
No,
crossing at
I'm
the-
not arguing with you. I'm saying we do have a crosswalk there and we got a crosswalk at Dearborn.
So there's one just north of Keizer Road on Verda, just before you enter the roundabout.
Yes.
Okay.
all right, now that we agree on that. Tammy, did you have a
All I
note?
wanted to ask is, what is the classification of Verda as it approaches the roundabout at 35? Do we know? It doesn't, the answer,
Isn't it a residential street?
No, it's not.
because that will be calculated in why I bring this up. And so my question is, with the new apartments being built there, does it change the type of road classification? Because this will all benefit our argument, if that's the case.
It's a feeder.
That's a minor arterial.
Yeah,
Verda is.
busy. Always has been.
And the apartment, do they calculate in it all? You don't know?
Sorry.
I don't know who makes the
Again, no.
classifications, and I know there's
Well-
criteria for them.
Don't think my recall of checking with state ODOT, the classification has very little to do with what's on it. I mean, whether it's apartment buildings or stores or.
Well, I was just
residential.
reading some of the classifications is based on how often you have a driveway and if there's
Yeah.
a certain resident, and so that's why I didn't know if this changed. That was all just a
Right.
question.
The driveway thing I knew
Because if
about.
it'll help our argument to lower the speed limit, that's all I was trying to say. And my second question is not really an answer, well, maybe. Do we have access to the plan set for Verda Lane that's for the upgrades, for the project? Have they showed us anything yet?
Just barely. Like I was looking at, I'll bring up VSFs again, but we're trying to figure some things out for that and they're kind of spotty and so no, we haven't. I haven't seen anything definite. Bill might have seen a different set of that, but as far as I know, it's
And you said
still,
ODOT's part of it? Is it through SCATS?
it's an ODOT project.
It's an
and-
ODOT project?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have anything else
No,
to
I
add to the
think
good?
it significantly stirred the pot.
Yeah, good job.
Good job. Thank you, Carol.
You're good at that.
She's back.
I will be at council with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy?
I'm not going to bring that up this time. I was going to, but twice is enough. I don't want to be. Okay. Actually, I kind of am going to do part of it. The roundabout does need crosswalks on the other side. So we have it right before the roundabout near Keizer Road, but on the other side where the bus stop also has one, but there's nothing on the other 2 corners at all. So those we kind of need to address.
On the
so-
roundabout?
The roundabout
you.
on Chamau and Verda,
Yeah, there's one at every leg
but they're not marked.
on the road. There
There's no white lines or anything.
There is.
It's the curbs, right?
No, there's lines. On the street, on the pavement. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I think we need to get a Google image of this.
Yeah, there's center refuges for each one of those that come in, and there's hash marks that go across the street marking a crosswalk. They're thermoplastic, and they might be a little worn, but they're there.
Oh,
Okay.
they're painted. They're painted.
They shouldn't be on a news.
So are you looking for more
Street.
attention to it?
Um,
I think this might be a good place where our flags could go, Brenda.
yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Okay.
That's my next topic. The flag project. How do we put that forward so that we have consistent crossing guards or parents that can assist in ensuring the safety to the schools?
Yeah, so I have been in the same fight for the, or for my area, for Sanka as well too. In the past, it was the schools really driving it and they had volunteers. That has died down. They don't have enough teachers there to help, and I'm struggling in just my own neighborhood association to get the help that we need for that and be able to talk with some. So mostly it's usually volunteer parents that will take a corner and help out that area. That roundabout doesn't really have a community to ask for help and to ask the Keizer Elementary. It's the only avenue I can see us getting help. Do you have a comment on this? Because if you have an idea,
If we go
let's
down the
talk
road
it.
of the sign with the QR code, this is another example of where it could be useful. So we could stick a sign with the code and the method of
Yeah, I like that
communication. And then
idea.
somebody says, what's going on? Oh, they need a volunteer. And the word spreads. Because then it goes on social media and maybe somebody who actually scans it says they want to do that. That's all.
Or we could have an area where, I mean, I don't know how this would work. I don't even know how you would vet somebody to be okay to be the volunteer, to be there at 8 o'clock every morning for 20 minutes, helping kids cross. I need more help. Hirsch, if you have some, this open floor.
We've done this kind of thing before, and we did have the principal of Keizer Elementary, which is the other end. We're talking Kennedy. Yes, through the PTC. Fact is, when we get to my roundabout, talk about something we're doing at another elementary school. The PTC, if it's active, which not across the board, is the source. The other problem with the school district related to getting volunteers is they have to have the background checks.
That's what it is, the background
And
checks.
on every event. So I know some elementary schools in Salem Keizer couldn't get parents because they didn't pass the background check. Now, new principal at Kennedy, you guys are working with them.
Yeah, Miranda's amazing.
So you got a good PTC there. So a volunteer, free T-shirt, those kind of things.
If you can get the information and if there's anything that this committee can help with in support, we can be at that PTC meeting. And I'm thinking this might be the way for us. Sorry, I'm pointing at him up there.
And
Tim? Ken, thank you. I was gonna call you Tim, sorry, but I think this might be my new avenue. I think even if I can come and show support of needing their assistance and how they can help us get around the background checks, if that's something that they've already got in place, I don't know. I think this is an avenue that you tell me where to help out, and if you start it, we'll go, or one of us will go.
So the background checks are needed because they're associated with the school. So
They're
you're saying if they're not
associated.
associated with the school and they're just a crossing guard at a road, then maybe there's some other method.
Well, anytime there's kids.
I was gonna
I mean,
say.
I'd rather go through school, but
But-
if we can facilitate
Yeah.
that need somehow
It's
and work
There
with them on
is
that.
one other resource that's coming forth is Beth Schmidt, the Safe Routes to School. She's working with several schools right now. They're through the council of governments. Right now, next week, she'll be at Forest Ridge developing and training how to do a walking school bus. So that's the other thing, is maybe not a crossing guard, but a walking school bus. And
So
parents
how do
can-
we set that up for Kennedy?
Well, there's a couple of things. Bev
Well,
Schmidt is, Council of Governments, you can definitely call them and talk with them. We've had them here before on other items, but it sounds like this is a new avenue. Bev Schmidt, I actually know her.
I'm meeting with her next week. I have your name and number.
But I think if you
Pass
could
that on.
get the principal to give us the president's name of the PTC, and maybe we can get an email, if we get an email, copy me in on that as well, or the
Okay.
committee. I think that
Yeah,
might be
I'll
our
see
next route.
Miranda tomorrow anyway, so I will pass this on to her, because
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the concerns is Dearborn hasn't been consistent with a crossing guard, just like Alder. Every time I go through that area and I don't see a crossing guard, I get more pissed off. With that road, we need to have somebody there to ensure our kids are getting to school safely. I watched some kid on a scooter almost get hit by a car out by Alder the other day. It is absolutely insane. We have got to do something.
I agree. What else you got on that list?
Okay. And my next thing is we're getting ready to put a couple of Fun Fridays together. The dates are July 28th and August 4th. And we're gonna be hopefully hosting it at St. Edward Church on River Road. And I've been asked to look and see if we can get you guys involved with doing a bike skills fair, more directed towards Hirsch.
David? Church?
Did you have a date?
July?
Yeah, July 28th and August 4th, between 4 and 7 p.m. They wanted to do a bike skills fair and be able to give out helmets. It serves the Kennedy Elementary kids and their families. And we are seeing that population starting to do more biking. So I think it's a really great idea to hit it off before it becomes a problem.
Would it be okay to bring that back to,
Well, we have a
The
big
June
bike
meeting?
skills fair, June 10th.
Right. And I did pass that on to Miranda. She did add it to her
All the
newsletter.
principals in Keizer got that, so. And then I'm working with Beth for another one, so I don't know if we have the resources. We're also gonna be doing one at the Housing Authority, August 1st on the Parkway. You know, those Parkway apartments, they're just outside of Keizer, but there's a lot of Keizer kids, and there's a lot of kids that live there coming to the Keizer schools. So we
Right.
technically have 3 already this summer.
Okay. Next is the Parkway Walk Path. Is there any way we can maybe get some of the potholes and whatnot added to a list for repairs?
Which,
Between Lock Haven and Cherry.
That would be under ODOT's Region 2 Maintenance, and I can connect you with the phone number. The gentleman's name's Steve, and you can
Okay,
discuss.
Yeah, that's ODOT
Areas.
property.
Mike,
perfect.
can I get that number also, please?
No.
Oh, come on.
That's
Okay.
all I have.
well, thank you, Tammy, for all of your input. And looks like we have a couple of good ideas around here that we can use in all of the communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have Brook Alder Crosswalk update, Hirsch/budget.
Ken was there.
Come on up.
I'm not with that topic.
You're not?
I didn't sign up, but I really.
Oh, is there another one? Oh, you just want to come talk? Come on up. You said Ken?
My name is Bill White,
Bill. All right, thanks.
and I am so happy to see Verde Lane in everybody's mind. I'd like to talk about that road, not so much on today, but what's happening in the future. We all know that Verde Lane is going to be extended north through the farmer's field to Harmony Road. And what I'm wondering is, if it's extended to Harmony Road, what's going to keep it there and not go on to River Road? And if that happens, how many trucks, farm trucks, construction trucks, all of that, are going to be running down Verde Lane and totally disrupting the residential flavor of that street? Do we know anything about that?
And you're talking then the residential, that would be between Lock Haven and the roundabout, I'll say,
Yes.
which would make sense. That's where which way your question is coming from.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure we'd have no through truck signs up right there. And that is stemmed to go through the farmer's field and then tie in right there at Manzanita and tie into River Road. That's going to be realigned, so it will go to River Road at
So
said
that
time.
is just a bypass for the heavier traffic, but they will go up and down Lock Haven, not down Verde Lane.
If they're following the law, yes.
Okay. One other thing about,
Thank
to
you, Mike.
extend on the children's safety. A couple of council meetings ago, there was some discussion on Area D, the development, and where the water tower is. And there was a discussion about people in the baseball fields wanting to get across the tracks and over to Chick-fil-A. And the proposed idea is a tunnel, just like there is north of Marshall's. And there was no negative about that. If we could build a tunnel for recreation, could we build a tunnel for the kids on Verde Lane at those apartments? Or could we copy Willamette University and build a bridge?
Well, not that one for sure. They stopped using that.
Oh,
They
did
now walk across the
Okay.
street again.
I wasn't aware of that.
We need to have them tunnel.
But
That's
that
a
way,
great idea, though.
My thought is, I live on Northside Drive, and so I use Verde Lane almost every day.
Right.
But my thought is, you have May Street and Dixon Streets that go away from Verde Lane, and they end up on Noren. And there are no stop signs for either of those streets until they get to the end. So if you were to have a tunnel at May Street, it would come up, just not that far from Verde Lane. It wouldn't go all the whole length, but the street would dump the kids right off at the school.
Counselor Husband and then Michael.
Yeah, I can partly take this one. So I was there. Definitely part of the Area D discussion for sure. So I better take the tunnel idea first. I lived for a little bit in Bend, and on the east side of Bend, there is a portion of Highway 20 that is tunneled underneath, near Lava Lanes, the bowling alley, to reach some of the apartments over there, kind of at the base of Pilot Butte State Park, that area. So I think that's the model, or that's the vision for what you're proposing there. Challenge from a public works standpoint, I think, would be just the elevation, depending upon where it is on the roadway versus how deep you'd have to go. Construction notwithstanding, I think one of the concerns there is just how low is that eventually? Because if we're going to keep going low in that space, we have to worry about water and drainage at some point. Because heavy rains are going to come, and
Yeah.
they're...
Well, how did they handle it in north of Marshall's in Keizer Station?
There is a drain there, yes.
We have
An
a sump
expensive
pump
drain.
that kicks it out.
It is a problem.
No, we have a sump pump that kicks it
Oh.
out. There's a manhole in the bottom of it, and if there's any standing water in there, it goes in a grate, and then it gets pumped up to the east to a catch basin and out to I-5.
So it can be resolved.
It can be resolved. I think it would take a little more creative thinking just based on the location, but some...
Well, I'm not saying pinning this out as the only solution. I'm just trying to give an idea, because at this point, I don't know if anybody can estimate how many children are going to be in those apartments and how many of them are going to be grade school kids having to cross the street. But if they had a tunnel, you could or could not have people there to help them in and out. Maybe some kids are smaller and they have a harder time. But the need for crossing guards would not be as acute. And they would be able to, and another thing is, they all go to school at the same time, but they come home at different times. And that's probably where the shortage of crossing guards comes from.
I think the shortage of crossing guards, unfortunately, comes from a lot of places.
Yeah.
My mother works in the district, so I'm familiar with a few of those challenges. Oh, I wanted to address the Area D point, though, with something, and I think I brought this up when I did my little master plan song and dance last meeting, but Ridge Drive is going to undergo a change. It has to, especially if we want to be able to connect Keizer Station Area D to the Little League Park underneath the tracks. The road as it exists will not be able to exist in the same fashion or function. I have been personally pounding on some tables about the opportunity inherent there, especially for the walking and rolling set, because not only could it be conceivable to walk to Chick-fil-A in relatively smooth time, but you also have the opportunity to get to Keizer Transit Center along the currently undeveloped or slightly abandoned swath of Ridge Drive. Now, these plans are, they're still way out there, and this would be an interagency, multi-agency operation. I bring it up, though, because citizens need to know that these are the types of things that are going to happen, and there is an opportunity to rethink some things with how the Little League Park goes. For instance, if a kid can ride a bike with a bat bag on his back or her back to the Little League parks, they ought to be able to park their bike there, have a staple, be able to lock it up, something of that nature. Just, I bring this up because Ridge Drive in its present state, we know it's going to change, and I don't want to limit the scope of ideas that come through regarding that stretch, because that's ultimately going to unlock the best of potential for that and for ODOT, Tammy, for the MLK Junior Parkway path. Unfortunately, yeah, Mike Griffin's absolutely right. It's an ODOT concern, but they need to know. Representative Mannix needs to know. Senator Thatcher needs to know how important those are. Seriously.
Well, I believe you're serious.
We can have that discussion for sure. Not necessarily now.
I want to thank you for the time you've given me, because I just wanted to, in my mind, I was worried about big trucks coming in off of River Road and making their way down to the expressway. And we have a 25-mile-an-hour limit, and you know that they're going to obey that. You know from freeway experience how they obey that. And so I'm pretty well set on that. And I just wanted to lift the idea of the tunnel for the kids, because you don't know how many kids are going to be there. You know there's going to be more than a dozen, and so it's going to be worth considering.
Yeah, I think that's a fair estimate.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Committee, also thank you for my indulgences here.
No, we appreciate it. Ken, please call out Girloff.
And while he's coming up, I was just going to say that my idea was for that crossing would be right in line with where you're talking about the tunnel, and having something that looks like where Willamette, crossing it, flashing light, beacon, safe, where kids can then get across to walk up May to school.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you for indulging me. Ken Gerloff from the Southeast Keizer. I want to talk about Bertle Lane too a bit this evening. We have a crosswalk too that involves a school and a problem with people accelerating from the parkway. Even making a left turn there in my car, I'm sometimes hesitant to slow down, and so I don't get rear-ended by the speeds of some people following me. So, there's got to be something done on Bertle Lane. It's not just at the circle, but the whole distance from the parkway through Keizer. It's just, we have two schools now that are going to be egressing that street, and it's an issue. So I want to add my support to the lowering the speed limit, or some kind of push the button that flashes like Lancaster, something along that line that might make it safer if we don't have a crossing guard that day, because we don't have backups. If the crossing guard's sick, we do without. That's happened with one of our crossing guards that works the one at the three-way stop on Alder had surgery. He was off for 2 weeks. We had a crossing guard maybe 2 days a week during that time. The rest of the time, the kids are on their own, which is not a safe intersection to be going through because people ignore the stop sign. They tend to roll through and not pay attention to people crossing the street. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that issue up too. And I'm looking for, I guess, a recommendation from your group, what we should be lobbying for at our intersection at Alder and Brooks, because I guess we've been discussing it for a couple months now, and I'm kind of looking to you folks to give me a recommendation of what I might go lobby council for. I mean, kind of my own without your recommendation. I mean, that's why you exist as a committee. Your representation carries weight. And so I'm asking that we come to some kind of resolution in the near future, because we know it won't be built immediately. I'm looking at next school year already, and so that's why I'm here again.
Madam Chair, permission for a remark while you guys do some research.
Yes.
Try to buy you guys some time here. Ken, thanks so much as always. Your indulgences are always very welcome. And one thing I think that concerns me about your part of the street on Verda, there is at the Hyacinth Verda MLK Parkway intersection, that slip lane that goes from southwest effectively right going north. Yeah. And that's kind of a slingshot, right?
Yeah,
the way drivers take that.
Sometimes I'm afraid to stop, make a left-hand turn onto Alder because of the people behind me.
Oh, I completely agree. And it's tough for me as a cyclist. I'm sure Mike's experienced this as well when we're going either north or south along the Parkway path.
I just don't cycle up there, period.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't.
No, it takes a little bravery, and it's unfortunate, I think, because once you clear that effectively, given the potholes and the routes that are coming up there, you're kind of in the home stretch on your way to Keizer Station, and we do want that to be accessible. So I bring it up because it is a hard thing, but because MLK Parkway is ODOT territory. But ODOT needs to know that having a slip lane there may not be acceptable anymore. It is something that Kathy's walked through with me in the transportation plans in the long term, having fewer slip lanes in the city of Keizer over time because of exactly what you said. I mean, people take them as carte blanche to disobey traffic lanes or not necessarily look at where cars are coming.
They don't yield and merge, they speed and force their way in. I mean, that's what the trouble is. It's that speed up, and then you're doing it excess of 35, obviously, when you're trying to outrun the traffic.
Definitely. And I'm not exactly offering much of a solution here, but I do think that is one area that would mitigate some of the worst of what Verda is seeing in terms of people coming onto the street at a high rate of speed too. Because
I agree.
We know that people they take a little bit of hesitation when they're coming up from Alder past Weddell and Claggett Creek for good reason. That's one area though where people feel pretty comfortable overall.
Okay, so are we talking Alder and Brooks or Pleasant View and Alder?
We're talking Alder and Brooks.
We are, okay. At this point, the direction that you have comment?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
At the Budget Committee, I specifically, and Ken was there, specifically asked Bill Lawyer, what's the next step for? And he said, a recommendation from this committee to City Council.
Yep, that's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Hence, I'm here again to bug you.
That's
So,
fine.
yeah, I wanted to kind of get Bill's take on what's the next
And I
step.
appreciate it too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
talked to him earlier, and
Yeah.
I got the same information, so we're on the same page there.
Yeah, so it was brought up at the Budget Committee, and it didn't really sound like it's a major money issue.
Sounds like there might be some money available,
Yeah,
depending on what recommendation
Yeah,
was.
whatever the
There are
council-
different price ranges.
whatever the council directs, if they think.
Okay. Does somebody want to make
Will somebody give me a couple of options, what you're looking at for that intersection?
the options?
Yeah. He's asking for which one do we want, and I'm not,
In the
Sure.
past, David, he asked for either what he called a tabletop crosswalk, which would be a raised
Yeah.
crosswalk, or the flashing beacon.
yeah.
With the speed your speed
One of
is.
those two.
Well, no, weren't you talking about the pedestrian-activated flashing beacon?
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
I think, and that was when I talked to Bill Lawyer about it, that was the impression that I got. He thought
Okay.
that
That's
was the
what-
best idea.
That was my recall, but I hate to go on my recall.
But financially, we know that Cummings Lane hasn't even started the table. So this would be some time in the process. If you're looking for a quicker, more attention to the area, it's this flashing beacon that I believe is cheaper. And I'm willing to make the motion to ask it to go to council for approval, immediate approval, to put the flashing beacon in.
When you say beacon, you mean the speed sign?
No.
No, it's a crosswalk. So like when
Flashing
we,
yellow crosswalk.
a
like we have up on
flashing
Lancaster.
yellow crosswalk.
I will second that so we can discuss it.
Okay, so I've got, but where do you want that on?
On Brooks and Alder,
But across,
On Brooks or?
There's a crosswalk there.
it would be
going where,
across
crossing,
Alder.
Yes,
crossing Alder?
Make that clear.
Or
Crossing Alder.
Crossing Alder. okay.
Crossing Alder.
we have a speeding problem on Alder. That's why we wanted
Yeah.
the tabletop.
Okay, I'll
That would
second
slow the
that.
traffic down. It wouldn't, some people ignore, after a while, will ignore a flashing light, but something physical slows them down.
True.
I notice them a lot when I see them.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
can we open, did we have discussion on this, Brenda?
Are we talking about just the constant flashing light, or are we talking about the pedestrian activated flashing
Pedestrian,
light?
I thought she said pedestrian.
Yeah,
activity.
because
Pedestrian.
I will tend to ignore the constant one because it's always there, but I do occasionally miss the flashing one with the pedestrian, but I'm much more apt to see that because it's like mini lights.
The
like-
one on Lancaster by Chemacabee.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And
Okay.
the one there at Willamette is a good one. too.
So we got the recommendation and the
You
second.
have the move and the second.
Okay. Rick, did you have something for the
Yeah,
discussion?
got a question about procedure. It sounds like we're bypassing the neighborhood traffic thing, aren't we
That's
here?
because crosswalks don't necessarily
Pardon?
qualify for those. Crosswalks don't qualify in that program. I just learned that
Oh.
from Bill. So,
Well, for me, that's good news. As you know,
Well, and I'm glad you spoke on that because I was going to bring it up, and I know we've been talking about a lot of things. You are correct as far as the crosswalks, but with an existing crosswalk, and then we're asking to add something to that, my mind was kind of going, okay, and I agree, it's needed, so just take that for what it's.
Appreciate it.
But it's like, wait a minute, do we need to go down that route with the neighborhood management traffic program? Because we have a lot of things out there and a lot of things coming up, so then that would be where we would do the study and put the, do the speed study and do the steps that we're figuring out to make easier. Would we do that and then get the percentage of people and install something like that? And that's where it's kind of like, I know Bill said one thing, make a recommendation, and we go from there. I don't think we can do that
Mike?
every time.
Well, let me just make a comment about that. One, for this committee, that's all we're gonna do is make a recommendation. If the city council decides they want to have a study or the police reports or do additional information and ask Public Works to do that, that's their job, not ours.
Yeah.
We're not in a position to call for you to do a study or to say, well, go get all your neighbors to do that. If we have to do that, everything we've done here, most of what we've done is kind of unilateral decisions. We decided that the traffic was too fast here. We decided we needed a crosswalk here. We decided that we recommended paving. We didn't go to the neighborhoods and say, well, what do you guys think?
No, but they came
And
to us.
they could come to us, but they don't have to come to us.
Right,
And I think we should operate under that.
that makes sense.
They could just go straight to council, like you said, and voice their
Well, he
opinion
could
and go
straight
from
to
there.
council
Yeah,
and ask
so.
Could go to the budget committee and ask.
Dave, at one point, this is going to happen in the next couple months because Mayor Clark's been talking about it, but there will be a work session convened by the council around the neighborhood associations. The idea behind that is basically what are any legal parameters around how the city should work with the neighborhood associations, what does exist, what doesn't, and then what is ultimately the right thing to do. So the hope is that we do come up with a little bit better way to work neighborhood associations in. Because right now, the council, through the budgetary process, Hirsch, we've talked about this, has essentially made the stance that we want the neighborhood associations to do pretty well. We value their work. We value what they're bringing to the table. And so we gave them a budgetary bump. I think that's pretty well publicized at this point. Neighborhood associations got a little bit more money. And so some of that is, we're not necessarily putting too many strings on that. We as the council are going to convene on this in the next couple months to just better define the relationship. And understand too, some of it's city liability. We don't necessarily know what, from a lawyerly perspective, we need to get accomplished. But if we have that handy in some sort of SOP, then maybe we can smooth out these lines of communication. I mean, I'm glad, put it this way, I'm glad I'm here for all of this, because this definitely informs my work, and it's nice when neighborhood association folks come and inform committee work, and it's nice when neighborhood association folks come and inform council work. So as working together definitely helps. We do need to smooth some of those out, but we'll get there.
Well, we're moving through this agenda pretty,
So I think the topic at hand, though, is whether or not we need to use the plan, the program, to, no?
No.
I think you got to recommend,
yeah,
Bill
I just need
Moyer,
to, yeah.
Okay.
This is good.
He asked for the committee to make a recommendation. You need to get this on the books, especially like Councilor Hussman said, if they're going to be discussing this needs to be in front of them. If you wait to go through that neighborhood program, it'll still be in the background. They need to know that, and that's, they can shut you down, but at least it's on the books.
Right.
And they can come back and say, well, we don't think so.
Yeah.
Or they can say, well, thank you very much. We appreciate your input.
Yeah, that's the way the system should work.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll call for the question on the vote.
I'm gonna ask the committee for approval?
Call for a vote.
A vote, okay.
I will restate the motion.
Thank you.
Jamie moved to recommend approval of a flashing pedestrian beacon on Brooks and Alder where the current crosswalk is, and Hirsch seconded. So now if you're ready to vote, you could do that.
Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, it passes. Unanimously, it passes. And I'd like to thank Debbie for making me sound really good in my motion.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ken, for being persistent.
So how many?
Thank you all for being persistent.
Where are we?
Bypassing.
So we're on item 3.
No. Thanks, Dave. Stop. Save that one for later. We're tucking this, I think. Okay, so is there any other citizens of interest? All right, we get to move through our next item on the list is Brooks and Alder Crosswalk Update. Hirsch?
We already did it.
That was it?
That was it.
You got it?
Yeah.
All done.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Tammy, I'm gonna give you the floor for the update to the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. At this point, I don't know if you're gonna give any updates or if you wanna make a date of us all to meet. Go
That's
ahead.
all.
I don't know.
So I guess the update, this will be really short because we're not getting into details here. We've already discussed a lot of the details that have come up in question. So I compiled all the feedback that we've received, and I feel there's more to come. I've been already requested that we continue this time period to allow further feedback. All of the feedback has sparked questions. It's allowing me to communicate directly with Public Works through email to answer some of the questions to which I bring to this meeting. So at this point, I don't want to discuss too much more, but just know I brought up a few topics already that were popular with the petition and whatnot, so we're still going to work through an answer to that. Meanwhile, keep giving feedback if you have new thoughts now that some time has passed, and that goes for the committee as well. I know I heard from several of you, and then we'll just put this discussion on to next month, and we'll see where we're at that point in time.
Okay, great, thank you. The next thing we have on the list is the SCATS report. Is there anything that anybody has to bring to our attention? I think that I don't have anything.
I don't remember what the monthly report was, so no.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to skip over that one. Next, we have pedestrian flag report from Brenda. Do you have anything to discuss on this?
Just that, as we have time this summer, if you notice towns, like I got a message from Tammy and one from Hirsch, towns that, and anybody who wants to send me stuff, towns that have used flags and it worked, towns that used flags and it didn't work, so we can look at what processes they were using, because it's usually failed oversight that's making them not function, is what I'm noticing now, but I need more information. So it seems like there's a lot of data out there, and trying to figure out what data is relevant for us as a committee, so that when we reconvene in the fall, I have something to help and we have something to work with.
Okay. It'd be kind of neat if we could get maybe something to the schools, if they could help us, like say, here, we'll give you like some extra flags. That way they, and then maybe get somebody to sponsor it or something.
This is where Brenda Schmidt could come in.
Yeah, huh? Okay. All right, I'm moving to Oregon Bicycles and Pedestrian Committee report from Mike.
So I have nothing to report because I missed the meeting, but I contacted the person to see if there was anything I could view separately or get. Unfortunately, she's out, so I haven't heard back from her, but as soon as I do, we'll have something for the next meeting.
Okay, and you can bring that just up in your committee report, your personal next month?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then that also, then you get 2 in a row, bike lane and buffer stripping.
So this was my idea about, some of you, or maybe all of you have seen bike lanes will have a buffer strip alongside of it, just to give a little extra buffer on more high volume streets. And talking to Mike and some other folks, there is an engineering study that is required, a traffic engineering study. My thought would be, if we do move forward with this, which would obviously need a request, I guess, of the budget committee or something at some point in the future. I'm thinking of the lowest hanging fruit in Keizer that I could think of is Lock Haven by the River Road intersection. It's up to 30 feet wide lane, not lanes, lane going west to east, so towards Keizer Station from River Road. I had a conversation with Chariot's staff, because there's a bus parking spot right there too, by the, I think it's the H&R Block there, where we could kind of do a combination where there's more of an official on-street maybe painting or sign or something that for the bus stop, moving the bike lane out where it is rather than having it come towards the corner or the curb so quickly, and then having some type of bike buffer strip adjacent to it, and maybe even painting it green like you see in some cities.
Mike,
Yes.
in general, if I have a bike lane on a street, how many inches is the buffer gonna take, added? And let's assume we're gonna double it because it's gonna be both sides. So how many inches are you talking about?
Right. Well, we don't have to do it on both sides yet.
But the idea of a buffer strip.
So,
would
you know,
be
you're
both
looking at 12 to 18 inches.
Say 18, so if you have it on both sides, you need 3 feet more of asphalt than you've got,
You mean taking up 3 feet of asphalt,
more than you're currently.
not
using.
putting down?
Well, you may be putting it down if it's not there yet.
Well, right, so in my example, there's 30 feet of asphalt already there.
Yeah.
So starting with these.
So narrow the lanes or do something to
Right.
give you bicycle lane bigger.
Exactly, and in my example situation, because it's so wide there, it makes it harder for a bicyclist to want to cross over, say to trail, or even just going up along the road. You've got people, speaking of, it's not a slip lane, but people treat it like a slingshot where they come up off of River Road up Lock Haven. So they're going pretty fast by the time you're getting even to the H&R Block, if not trail. So I think that would be a good test case. We could tie it in with Chariots, that bus stop, just make it a lot more friendly and a narrower lane there. Of course, like Mike said, it's something that needs an engineering study, which costs money. So my point tonight is to bring it up as an idea and to gauge everyone's thoughts of having some future request of either council or budget committee to have some funding to do these studies.
And the purpose of this be because it's safer.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I should-
Thank you. You're just used to doing it too.
I'm
Go
just
ahead, Council.
trampling all over Robert's Rules of Order, Madam Chair, forgive me. But
We're pretty lax here.
I appreciate the happy hour sensibility of this committee. But Mike, how far up do you want it to go on the road? Because I understand your geography here. I'm just interested in what your scope and scale is right now.
Well, so eventually that travel lane for cars does narrow down to a much more reasonable width. So I'm thinking probably from the intersection with River Road up to just about trail, because that's really where, like I said, where it starts to narrow down.
Okay, and I'm envisioning Rosa Parks in North Portland, how it has essentially concrete curbs that are about the height of really your typical sidewalk, just adjacent to the sidewalk. That's about your vision for.
Well, I think that's probably too extensive at this point.
Okay.
If there was ever a redesign, including taking that slip lane out, that could be part of it. But with the bus stop there, I don't want too much getting in the way of their operation. So I'm thinking some painted strip that pushes the car out just a little bit more. Even painting the bike lane itself, so it's
Gotcha.
much more obvious.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Hirsch, please.
Madam Chair.
Please, go ahead.
If we're talking Lock Haven, we have to talk about Chamawa and River Road. Because the cyclists are, that's my route, you're over on Lock Haven. Chamawa, when you come up on both the east and west side, you have to merge into traffic. And there is no indicator to other traffic that you're merging out. And that's another area which Portland, Corvallis, Eugene have done excellent jobs with paint. And I posted some things where they were also doing art as part of the bike lane to help slow things down. So as far as a study in the future, I'm all for it, but let's look at other areas besides just Lock Haven, because with a beautiful bike facility we have on Chamawa on both sides, River Road and Chamawa right there, it's a mess for a cyclist.
And
That's the end of my two. Thank you.
And I would just second that I support a bigger study, more bang for the buck, I would guess. But.
Yep.
All right,
I'd
Tammy.
like some time to look this up. My first reaction it was kind of negative. It's not because of part of it's the idea. In terms of, I'm really more concerned about overall safety, and I'd like to look it up, because right now it doesn't look like it. That would do much one way or the other. That's why.
But
So I'll put it off to another meeting.
I think he's just dropped in the idea for us.
That's fine, good. That's why I'm gonna look it up.
All right, Tammy, you had some comment?
All I was going to say is, first, I support what you said, because I go that way all the time. And even just as a driver in a car, it gives you the illusion that there's two lanes when there's not. And so somehow I have yet to witness a collision, but I don't see how it's avoidable. Anyway, that aside, I'm in support of what you said. Is there a grant we can look into to help us with the study that we're discussing here? Is it like, anybody have ideas, or let's give it
Well,
some thought?
It's like everything.
Any grant that might be available out there, we have to go through city council and have, in this case, we have to have full support of Public Works. And Public Works.
Right, but we can find one. We can find them. We can't apply for them, but it's kind of up to us to find them.
And Public Works gets a, you know, they have a good line on grants that are coming through for
Well, I was
various
thinking
things.
Jenna
Yeah, like
Berman.
federal, isn't that what SCATS was, I mean, grant, that's,
Originally
here's,
for?
here we go. We have a problem with Tremowin River Road. Who's gonna fix it? City of Keizer, SCATS, federal government, or, you know,
Even the city of Salem, because the city of Salem does the lights.
yeah. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't seem like anything we should get involved in any more than we were involved in anything else. I mean, granted, it's a problem, but I have 4 pages of problems now in front of me.
My thoughts were when Jenna Berman came and spoke with us, she offered her support and help if we ever needed it for finding these programs. So I'd be happy to reach out to her if we decide to go that route, to see what our options even are. Just for the study is all I'm asking for at this point.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on that and we'll see. All right, next on our list is preliminary results from Safety Action Plan Survey. Hirsch?
The
Sanger.
Council of Governments did a really all county, city area survey. I think a number of members here put in their 2 cents on the survey. That ran from March 13th to April 3rd. And there's still,
Compiling.
yeah, because there was a lot of narratives. And that's a little harder to compile. But I'm guessing maybe by our next meeting, we might have some really preliminary stuff to be able to see what the Keizer portion might be.
Okay, then I'll keep you on the list
Yeah.
for discussion on that. The next on the list is review and response to memo from Mayor Clark. Did the committee read that memo? If not, is listed on the back. This memo is from Mayor Clark, and it's going to Councilor Husband and City Manager Adam Brown. The first one is, as TSBP works on the NTM, yes, I'm using acronyms, can we ask that the TSBP committee meet with the CDEC?
What's that?
Community Diversity Engagement Committee.
Yeah, thank you. To review and ask for comment before sending it to council for adoption. So we're a little ways out. I feel like we have another 2 months of massaging the data, but we definitely will consider them in our process before taking it to council.
And,
And you
sorry,
said
Madam
you
Chair,
had
for
a
the interruption.
workshop coming up on this?
On this
Well, on
issue
the
proper-
neighborhood association.
Neighborhood associations, I would expect that to happen in the next couple months. Mayor Clark hasn't given the firm date.
This is involved in it, yeah.
But that's a closed session, right?
No, that would be open.
They are?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I just wanted to bring this up, Madam Chair. The why on the CDEC is to get extra stakeholders involved from a different lens. Is essentially.
I encourage it.
Yeah.
No, I encourage it.
Are we not necessarily seeing some point of view? And that committee should be equipped to review everything and put their spin on it or give some recommendations. So it's another thing too. The city is trying to involve them, or city council, I should say, wants to involve CDEC a little bit more in decision making. That's kind of the edict
It's a
and how we're
lens
approaching it.
that I think I'm happy to hear that we are keeping our eye open to, and definitely would have no problems going over this. I think the biggest thing they're going to come back to us and say is translation, to have this in different languages so that anybody in our community can fill it out. Number 2 on here says, has the TSBP committee made a recommendation on the flashing crossing place? We just talked about this. But this one says on Verda between Dearborn and Chemawa.
Well, that's the one we talked about, the danger on Verda at the circle.
So I think this is a separate one that I want to make sure.
No, it's, well, didn't we just talk about
I think this
this
is where
is the
Mr.
same
White
thing.
brought up a tunnel or a bridge or whatnot, somewhere
Right.
crossing about
Right.
mid-block to get
That
across the
was
street.
Alder and Brooks, David.
No, that's where we put the flashing light in. This is,
Mr. White mentioned.
this is Verda between Dearborn and the Chihuahua's, the traffic circle.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so it's that stretch,
Okay, we've had conversation on it, so we're good.
Yes, we
there.
have.
Thank you.
and the problem, we put it off because we don't know what the apartment builders are doing.
Right.
And until we get that information, kind
Mike.
of treading water, and we're waiting on Mike.
Should I, well, no, we're not waiting on Mike, we're waiting.
I know, we're waiting on whoever can find that plan.
No, the
Well,
plan
I
I
don't-
mentioned is the road plan, not the apartment plan.
That's different, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, but do you think we should talk to the planning commission? Maybe they can, look and give us an answer, Mike?
my only note on that just says the committee could make a recommendation. So just kind of left it, because as far as Public Works, well, number one, there's nothing in, there's no plan or anything for a crossing. And as far as Public Works, there's been no staff discussion about that. So then that just leaves it with, I think Mayor Clark had brought it up, and then it went from there. And I was speaking with Bill, he said, well, the committee can make a recommendation. So we're at the beginning stages of talking about it
Does-
and
Okay.
coming up with a solution, I guess.
David, did you have some additional details? Does he,
How many blocks is it from the traffic circle to Dearborn? 4 blocks? Three? That's a really short, I'm sorry. I'm looking at, I've got 3 pages of things that need to be done in Keizer. And all of a sudden, this comes floating down out of the sky. That wasn't on any of our priorities.
It's not, David.
And that's fine. And it has come up, and somebody brought it up today, and it's worth looking at. But in my mind, we have a lot more serious problems elsewhere there. And we don't really know what's going on Verda, on the east side of the road, correct, Mike? Correct me if I'm wrong. Do we know
Well,
what's going to
nothing's
happen
going
to
on.
Verda for sure on the east side of Verda?
Not between Schmau and Dearborn, no.
Thank you.
That's good.
That's all we're looking at here.
Until something happens, and whatever that is, I'm not sure. Just
So
the
we're really
west
kind of
side.
up in the air. And somebody coming and saying, here, I have a solution, a flashing light. And I'm going, I don't even know where you want it. We have a problem at the traffic circle. People heading east on Chihuahua are afraid they need to get off down Verda a little bit before they can cross where the crosswalk is. Did you really mean to put a flashing light in there? Did you mean to put it down a block, 2 blocks? Do you want the flashing light at Dearborn? I don't have enough information, and I'm quick at making decisions. I don't have enough information to even think about that. And I think we're getting ourselves in the spot responding to, well, we responded to you, but how long did it take? A while. Right, so this one's just dropped out of the air.
and
Not
no,
my favorite way of doing business.
I want to take, I believe your comment is true.
I'm
And I don't think, I think you're bringing up a valid point. I think that's why it's rising to the top, is that not only that, but once those apartments go in or condos go in, that is that many more people going through there and all of their
I didn't
friends.
say it wasn't a good problem, I'm just saying it shouldn't rise to the top
And
when
we
we don't
won't.
have information about what's going on either side of the street.
Okay, then I think we'll hold this for any type of motion for suggestion of what to do until we can gather more details of what's going to happen on the east side.
Mike, what kind of information could you give me next meeting that would help me make a decision of whether I wanted to put a flashing light somewhere on Verda? So there is no information.
Right,
Okay.
so I wouldn't want a motion right now. Mike Gold, you had a comment, please.
Yeah, I could give you one bit of information. It's about 3/10 of a mile between between Dearborn and Chihuahua, so about 1,500 feet, which is a long distance between crossings.
How far is it from Dearborn to the Parkway?
Uh,
Farther,
It is farther, yes.
And there's a hill.
and there's a hill.
Well, I'm not
And a
saying-
curve.
Verda is Verda. It needs work. The whole.
I think that's one of the worst places. I wish it would come up. We have lists of priorities from old ones and scats and everything else, and that is not on it.
We'll get it on the list. We're just
Somehow.
trying to prioritize our
No,
list.
I'm not,
Yeah.
it bothers me to get off track that much.
I hear you, and I think this is, Tammy has asked me for the same thing just less than a month ago. We're putting all this together, but I realize now that the dates of when these things have been asked for has not been taken into
Probably
consideration.
Nicer too.
That'd be nice too.
The list
but-
you're referring to is I compiled all of the projects that have been brought to our attention, just so we had something in front of us, so we know when we're discussing these. This is in no way any order, either chronologically or by importance.
No.
It's more of just, I quickly threw this together, so if we were discussing something, we had something in front of us.
And we-
I think it's
we got a
great.
quick
That's the
update.
neatest thing I've had.
So this will be a living document, we'll keep updating it, and I think pretty soon, after a few months of these discussions, we'll have a clear,
Yeah, I think we just need to get a
format
little
for
bit
it.
more.
We also have 24 projects
No, those are
from the
included.
Keizer Transportation System Plan that did not get completed. I don't think just because it happened a long time ago,
No, we incorporated that document into our new one.
I know, but
Okay.
it's still 24.
Hold on a second. Hirsch, did you still have comment?
On the Verda Lane, as part of the Kennedy School walk around that David and I and Bill and the Safe Routes to School coordinator did, gosh, that's kind of bad, 5 years ago. That's, yeah, and we came up with almost the same thing that the suggestion. The problem is the east side of Verda Lane, there's a ditch, there's no sidewalks. May Street, great idea. However, the property line and the utility lines are not straight. So we would have to buy a lot of right-of-way just to put in sidewalks. And
Storm drains, electrical
Storm,
movement, power
yeah.
line movement. It's maybe, it's hugely, I don't
but
care about the expense. but it's-
logically, that's the best place to put it, right across from the apartments.
Yeah.
But it's not in the budget this year.
Okay. Well, we'll add it to the list to keep discussing and,
So it has been brought up, is my point, and
okay.
it's good, it reinforces that it's on here.
Yeah, and I'll, in response to Mayor Clark and Councilor Husband, I know you had comment too.
Yeah.
Just that, Tammy, does Ms. Lockhart have a copy of that? Because
the list, the one I gave you in the beginning.
The
Awesome,
project
Debbie.
list.
I just asked because I think we should publish that, frankly, make it a public record since we're putting it forth in a public meeting.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Oh.
It's in the-
It's with her. All right. And then the other one is the flashing crossing at Lock Haven and Celtic Way.
Isn't that done?
No,
So I can speak on that briefly, unless you want to go.
No, you
Okay.
go, please, Mike, because you would have more of the updated information than I would.
So DKS Engineering is STEM to do a warrant study for that piece of Lock Haven. They're trying to fit it in this school year, but are not sure if they'll be able to. If they can't fit it in before the end of the school, it's kind of pointless to do it during the summer, so they will catch it the first of next fall. So that's the update I have. So as far as the question of what are the next steps are the warrant study. And we'll go from there and slowly
So we're
moving
on,
along.
we're on
Yeah.
board. So you do it.
thank you. All right, and then the last one, it says 3-foot fence along Ben Miller Family Park border with Alder in order to allow kids to play and use the entire park. There are many examples of these fences locally, and they do two things: increase safety to use the entire park without a fear of a child will not pay attention and run into the street, and decrease the perceived width of the road for drivers with the visual of the right side. I think it says this is a traffic safety as well as a park need, but I thought we
So-
had a note saying we'd want to bring this to parks.
So Parks Department is taking the lead on this, and a new play structure is being installed as we
Yeah.
speak, or a concrete pad was recently poured, and so they're looking to see what type of fencing to go up. So they have that in their court, and
All right.
they'll be addressing that.
Parks Department's doing it.
Okay. Counselor Husband.
And Madam Chair, I can speak a little bit to Mayor Clark's vision on that. Her notion is that a fence, which approximately the height of our guest table right there around Ben Miller Family Park, would be in Mayor Clark's vision, narrowing that passageway somewhat as you get onto Alder from the west. I generally agree with the premise. If nothing else, it is at least a visual landmark that people have to look at. The overall effect it has on speed, we'll have to see. I find her rationalization of the benefits understandable.
Okay. We're gonna, as this committee doesn't sound like we have any take on this besides in support of whatever the Parks Committee decides, department.
The only thing I would throw out is I'm a strong believer that visual things helps slow things down. And if we could put some sort of artwork or painting on the fencing on that street side, I'm just throwing it out, Mike.
It's gonna happen though.
Yeah, with graffiti.
Well, we hire the graffiti.
Well,
Okay. Next on the list is committee member input and neighborhood association reports, if any, to give. I'm going to start with Rick. You have anything for the good of the order? None? Thank you. David?
Just like trying to read my handwriting.
No, too late. No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
no, I think I already said it. I'm a little, some of the items we're looking at, because we haven't dealt with an issue, and so somebody brought something up, we all agree it's really a bad problem, and then next week somebody drops something else up, and we drop the previous one, which may have been more pertinent, because it's not current.
Yeah.
And the list you gave me, I love the list, I love lists anyway, but when you have a list of things that need to be done, and even the old 12-year-old plan, these things were gonna be done, doesn't make any of them less valuable. And if you're talking about putting sidewalks in on Dearborn from River Road to the park, to me, that's still more important than a lot of the other things we've talked about. And so to kind of just keep pushing that back, because the city has, well, you weren't here anyway. The city has avoided paying their piece of that, but they could have done it 10 times over in the length of time I've been here. Sidewalk the whole thing down to the park, and they haven't done it. So I question bringing up something new when you haven't done the old things that needed to be done.
Well, David, I think you really brought up a good
And I get
point.
cranky as I'm older.
And that's fine. I guess what I'm going to bring up, and I think you raise a good point, is prioritization and really probably having a 1 through 5 of what's high priority to us and what's low priority, and then also showing the date that this we started talking about something. So I think to add to this project list, we might want to break it down, okay?
Yeah.
This was literally thrown together.
Oh,
I know, but
I love it, thank you.
It had been living in my head rent-free for a very long time, so thank you for putting it in
My vision is,
writing.
yes, to get this in a better format, and then each of us can, every month, have it in
Well-
front of us, and we can discuss priorities from there.
Love it.
A point, Hirsch. What's happening on Wheatland Road? The traffic development thing through SCAPS. What are they doing?
the plan has been developed. And there was public input, went through city council. So the next phase is funding.
Okay, now, I brought that up as a point, is that's a done deal and we've already committed money? in
No, there's no
plan?
money yet.
We are planning on getting money to do it.
and doing it in stages.
As opposed to building a tunnel. I mean, I'm not care about the tunnel, it's your tunnel. Anyway, you see what I mean? That's not even on the list. What problem are we solving on Wheatland Road? we don't have anything in here, in any of the long-range transportation problems, that said we had a problem, and yet that's the one that got solved first. Okay, you had some missing sidewalks on Wheatland, but there aren't very many. And it's a nice wide, it's got bike lanes, it's got lots of sidewalks, it's got street lights. Of all the places in Keizer, that's about the least, unless there's a hidden agenda I don't know about that has something to do with Clear Lake Road, Brook Lake Road, excuse me.
Okay, well, we will definitely take that into consideration, because I do think prioritization currently is who speaks the loudest, and that's not fair. It's a good one. Tammy, did you have anything to bring to from any member input?
No, I'm good right now, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I only have one thing, and that is the celebration of the city's 40th birthday, June 16th and 17th, from 7 to 10 p.m., 80s dance with disc jockey, photo booth, cake and cupcakes. That's on Friday the 16th. And then Saturday the 17th is Inside and Out, it says, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Bands, food trucks, vendors, dancers, cake, cookies, fire engines, and egg drop at 1. So be there or be square.
Where is it again?
Yeah, where is?
Oh, it's here at the Civic Center here.
Okay.
And this committee has signed up for a booth.
We did, David.
And David is going to
Yeah,
cover.
I remember that guy. I couldn't remember
Okay.
when, but yeah.
16th and 17th.
So the 10th, the 17th, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And
No.
Hirsch is going to be out of town, but he's going to make sure you have all the papers. And the
Hirsch is
helmets.
going to be, yeah, he's out biking around or something.
Do you have the helmets too?
I have the helmet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll get well, we'll see each other at the 10th.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good. Michael?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I had Debbie send you all the email about that story about how the governor signed legislation
Yes.
that will allow any city to do photo radar. I don't know if there's any interest in that in Keizer with council or PD or Public Works, but probably could use it in certain spots.
Didn't we do this before?
It's still a funding issue. The governor approved, but didn't give any
Yeah,
funding.
I
Right,
mentioned,
but-
we
but-
looked at it for River Road in Canada.
She allows us to do it. It's less of a burden or hurdle to jump over to get to it. So money again is always the
Bottom
the
line.
underlying problem. The other thing was, so Department of Land Conservation and Development has that climate-friendly communities legislation or rules. And so there was a survey out that the city of Keizer has out that you could all do. Sorry if I stepped on your toes.
No. This is important stuff, please.
But I was
2
thinking
times,
that climate-friendly communities is not just how we're developing, but also how we're getting around our community, because transportation is such a big driver of climate disruption. So it seems like this should be something that we should be, as a committee, involved with in the discussion of mixed-use areas and how they will be developed out, including the transportation infrastructure that goes into them to make them more climate-friendly areas. So I hope that we're involved in those conversations, not just the planning commission and staff. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Michael. Hirsch, do you have anything for the
Tammy,
committee?
do you want to talk about the neighborhood association? Okay. Okay. The big thing, and I do need help on this, and I know we've had committee help in the past. Bike Skills Fair, June 10th, 1 to 3 p.m. There will be the bike skills portion, inspections. Northwest Hub will be here to kind of check and fix bikes, helmet fitting. And David, I think we need more helmets.
Van,
More the larges and extra larges.
okay,
If we could order just a few more, I think there's money there.
yeah.
And the Keizer Police will be here to help. How it will flow is basically we'll have the kids come through, do a classroom kind of instructions on safety in the lobby. And then the kids will go out after their bikes have been inspected by the hub or whoever is helping on that. And then we'll need people to take the kids, and we have a checklist for them to go through the skills course. And we'll be setting up the skills course at the south parking lot by the police station. And we'll be using duct tape to create streets and a slalom course and stop signs and maybe even a railroad crossing, since some of our kids do cross railroad tracks for practice. And then once they completed it, the police will take them for a bike ride. Just around our park, not out in the major
Like they
streets.
did, no.
But just to give a nice, our bike police have new, really nice looking e-bikes right now, so. But as many people here, I know David has helped, Tammy has helped. You were, you were there, and Michael has helped. Last year, we were well-staffed, but no kids because it rained.
Yeah.
But my wife has guaranteed that it won't rain on June 10th because she has points in heaven because she lives with me.
She puts up with you. I think,
She
with the
has
phrase.
points up there. So that's the next big event coming up. I mentioned that I have met with Brenda Schmidt, and I'm going to be meeting with her
Betty, right?
and Nicole Carlson and Heidi Manlove the week after next, and Beth, excuse me. And I would like to be able to ask them if it works into their schedules to come here some evening. Brenda's she's brand new. Beth, excuse me, is brand new. Nicole has been the liaison for all the safety committees throughout the state. It's been a long time since she's come. And I don't think Heidi's ever come. So I thought if I have your permission as chair.
Yeah, please extend the invite to
Okay.
anyone. Yeah, I think the event has definitely come together and is successful.
As far as the neighborhood association, I can only speak on the Northwest Keizer Neighborhood Association. We had Kathy Smith from Smoka House come and talk about their program and their needs, and the women and families they serve. And it was their needs are overwhelming. And this community has helped a lot. So I really think that was a good thing. The problems that we have in our neighborhood are almost exactly what was by the other ones. We have speeding, but the big thing that we talked about last night was graffiti. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's just everywhere. And how to respond to it, how to take, the pictures and get it to the city so they can do something about it. My understanding is the city is going to be developing some kits that we can borrow to do some cleaning. But ours, I know Southeast had it. Everybody seems to have it, but now it's all over. And my neighbors got nailed, and we've talked to Lieutenant Copeland, and he's indicated they have an indication of who it is, and they did a stakeout in our general area. Nothing happened the next night. So that's kind of another issue. It's not a traffic safety issue per se, but
It is safety.
it does affect our livability.
Yeah.
That's about all I have. So.
Well, thank you. Brenda, you have anything for the good of the committee? All right.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our last couple of items. Staff report from Mike Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Cherry Avenue curb ramp, project is progressing nicely. This Saturday, they will be paving the east side radiuses, and then that'll finish up the entire east side. And I've already seen them start to saw cut on the west, and they'll just work their way through that. And we have no complaints with them, and the project's been going it's been going smoothly, so that's a good thing. So, next one, McLeod Stormline realignment will be awarded at City Council next month. We're replacing 400 feet of an old storm line on McLeod, and that's just something that's been in the works for a while. And after that, annual catch basin and manhole inspections are coming up, so we go around and we collect data from the catch basins, which then go on a list to go back and use our truck to clean those before the fall rains come. So it's that time again. So that's what I got.
So that's your list.
That's my list.
Thank you.
Do you want?
So Counselor Husman has the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've covered an awful lot, and to all the teenagers watching this, please don't graffiti other people's fences. Okay, thank you, I tried. Oh, okay.
Public service announcement.
Little public service announcement for everybody. We talked about neighborhood association workshop work session rather, that will be coming. That will be an open meeting, so public can be involved there. We're going to have at least one other workshop on streetlight taxing districts. Currently, the city of Keizer has more than 200 of them, because basically every time they've put in a section of streetlights, it became its own taxing district. So Mayor Clark, Council President Starr are working to consolidate some of those into a government entity that makes a little more sense for a more centralized city, which would be lovely. Monday feels like forever ago. What did we even do in our meeting? We approved a couple liquor licenses. So Brick's Tavern is coming into Keizer Station. That'll be big. Expect a little more traffic there in the old bar garden space.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's where they're going?
Yeah, that's where they're going. So
My favorite restaurant.
it'll be exciting. It'll be good. Don't remember if we had too much else at Monday's meeting that was germane to this committee. I think did I ever mention an idea I've had around sidewalk development before this committee yet? Or have I?
Let's refresh.
Okay, it's I've been trying to put this forth with Adam Brown and a couple of my fellow counselors. There is a program that apparently is run out of Los Angeles and a few other cities, known as a point of sale program. Essentially, city inspectors would come out on a proposed sale of a property. They would check to see if the sidewalk in the area is ADA compliant. If it is, then the deed can be transferred over. If not, the ask is that the property manager or the property owner or somebody involved in the transaction would fix the sidewalk to become ADA compliant. So potentially a way of both solving Keizer's current sidewalk woes where there may not be any previously, or fixing some, as we know there will be inevitable repairs in the future. It's one that, candidly, I'm working to get a little bit of traction on. I've had some decent reception to it at this point. There have been a couple questions about it. It's a little bit of a different one, so I think people are understandably concerned about that. But it's trying to figure out what may be a different idea that hasn't necessarily been tried in an area like this.
Sidewalks looked at, hopefully within a 30-year period. It might not happen all at the same time. That should make you very happy, David. All right now. That's a good one.
I mean, David can be my own hardest critic on this. I'm okay with that.
Really?
Yeah, and that's okay, because I feel like I say this every single one of these meetings, but seriously, hit the city council hard with this. Yeah. We need people to know, and we have good people in the audience who do it, and frankly, we need as many people possible. I've not been a city councilor for very long, but I have yet to attend a meeting with a full slate of people in the seats. Hopefully I get my one chance here soon. If they're all screaming about Verda Lane, so much the better. I don't control that, but that's okay. That's the will of the people being expressed. That's what we want to see.
Exactly.
But all this to say, sidewalks are definitely top of mind. I was grateful when Adam, in our strategic planning session, opened the idea of possibly having multiple sidewalk programs to really just get as much cement as we can down, get as much ADA compliance going, and then potentially come up with plans to review. So it may not be one solution. I have one that I personally obviously favor and I'm trying to work with the council on, but every little bit helps, I guess. And then there's obviously the notion of paying for it. The point of sale program, it's a little bit easier because that would obviously come during a transaction. So that way the city could essentially exert a little bit of control over a title, but a few different considerations to make there for sure, because
It fits in well, I think. It's a great idea.
thank you. I appreciate that. Please tell all your friends, Madam Chair.
I don't know, they might get mad at me for that, or just fix their stuff now. Is that all that you have?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
So the other business that I have on here is reporting to council and monitoring the planning commission is David Dempster. You could do that for
Sure, I'll tell them what you said.
June 5th and June 14th.
I'll be there too, because I have to report on the neighborhood association, so I'll back him up, so to speak.
Okay.
Keep it.
Another order of business that I wanted to bring up, because I was late to last month's meeting, is Counselor Husband, we appreciate you even if you can just join by phone. If there is something like a large or hefty agenda, I would send you a side email and ask if you could make it in person. But I feel like your engagement is there, whether you're here in person or on the phone. So thank you.
I really appreciate that, Madam Chair, and thank you. That's husmanr@keizer.org. For anybody who needs to reach out to me, HU, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, EM as in monkey, AN as in Nancy, r@keizer.org. Do not hesitate to fill up my inbox. That is what it's there for. Any and all complaints and vitriol are welcome. Whatever you would like to send me, please go ahead and do so.
Thank you.
Engagement doesn't have to be nice. I understand.
I love it. No, I appreciate that. He's not afraid. He's not afraid. So that will adjourn our meeting. Next meeting is June 15th. Thank you.
Good job, Chief.